Alrighty, and we are live on Facebook as well. G'day everyone and welcome to After Hours episode XXX, which in layman's terms is After Hours episode 30. It's been a long 30 weeks. It's feeling like it's been almost more than 30 weeks with the weeks that we've missed. But we're going to mark episode 30 in the exact same way that we mark all of these episodes, with the exact same silliness and shit talking and rubbish talking that we normally do. What 30 means, though, is now there's officially more episodes of this than you've seen Winters, and we're catching up on episodes how many Winters I've seen.
I think I'm aging at the same rate, though.
Yeah. You're catching up.
Yeah.
We are your hosts tonight, and I do use the word host quite tentatively, but this is Joe Perry to my left. Scott Fitzsimons here on your right, and I think on both Facebook and Instagram we're on the same side. Maybe not, that's all right, we'll look at that. Coming up tonight, I have a magic box full of whiskies and gins and various other spirits. Joey's got some squash fermented grape juice, so we can talk about a little bit of soil. As I said, we're live on Instagram, on Facebook at oakbarrel.com.au/live. To prove that we're live, we'll be doing live score updates from the mighty Sydney Swans game tonight as well. So that's going to be good. But that's what we've got in store for our episode 30. Probably not more than that. That's about it.
No, that's about all we can.
Another excellent way to waste all of your bandwidth on a Thursday night here at the Oak Barrel. It's been a couple of weeks. Joey, how have you been?
Yeah, good. It only just hit me today that we've had a few weeks off, surprisingly.
Yeah.
I think it kind of just zipped by like that.
Well, they've been packed with things.
Back to our irregular programming, I guess you'd say. Lots going on.
Yeah.
Lots of fun things. Lots of things going on. But lots of fun things happening here in the Oak Barrel store. A lot of great wine, a lot of great beer, a lot of great spirits. I don't know what else has really stood out for us here in the shop there. But
yeah, I think
there's heaps of stuff.
I think, it doesn't feel like that long since we did one of these. I've actually changed location. Some of you might know we've gone from the vault. We're in the warehouse now, where not so much of the magic happens, apart from boxes standing next to each other. Absolutely nothing exciting happens here. But it doesn't feel like it's been that long, because there's been something almost every night on the live stream. Various guests from Australia and around the world, which has been excellent. And I do apologise tonight because we don't have any special guests. You've just got us two. So that's a little bit of a disappointing way to start. And, at least I always think it's good to get the first disappointment out of the way early, so that people know what to expect.
Yeah, it sort of feels like, it almost was every night there for a little while, whether it be virtual tastings that we've run to the general public, or some sort of behind the scenes stuff that we've done with other industry professionals. And two non-professionals sitting in front of you now. So gearing up for a lot of the virtual tastings that we've done recently, I've always thought, well, I don't need to worry too much. There's somebody that knows what they're talking about. On this one coming up, we're just going to go in blind here.
Not a clue. Absolutely not a clue. What have you been up to? I did my first Sunday session back on Sunday, funnily enough, which was excellent. Get into old mates before the Tinder dates start and before the birthday parties start rolling in. Get to Burrow Bar while the Tinder dates are just getting in. Yeah. So I can be number 27 in their capacity out of groups of two. But
try your luck.
But it was good fun. I understand a lot of the venues aren't opening up on Sundays at the moment. There's, you don't know how many people are going to be in the city. There's obviously staffing cost implications. But from the evidence I've seen the last couple of Sundays, there's a lot of people in the city on a Sunday, not necessarily workers and people who live around, but people are coming in, doing a bit of a crawl through places that are open. A lot of friends getting together for the first time in a couple of years. So hopefully we'll start seeing that evolve a little bit further out, and we'll see a few more of that coming through.
Yeah, I've sort of been in and out of the city. Haven't really given it a good lash just yet, but that's definitely on the cards pretty soon. Did spend a weekend down in Wollongong 2 weeks ago, though.
The Mighty Gong?
The Mighty Gong.
Still there, is it?
I think so, yeah. The idea was to go away and maybe escape a bit more of the hustle and bustle. I think that was certainly achieved. With everything opening up, quite rapidly here in Sydney, and we're seeing a lot of things happen. Things definitely don't move that fast down there, which was quite nice.
It's a little bit different. One of my favourite things at the Gong is the RSL club, a Chardonnay on tap, which is a brilliant idea. Everywhere should have Chardonnay on tap. But also the buffet used to be a gold mine. It was like $10, $15 a head, all you can eat buffet. I feel like I might have had my last buffet at the Willow RSL, which does break my heart a little bit.
Yeah, sort of. What we were able to sort of squeeze in the brief time there, stuck our heads in at Headlands Distilling.
Yes,
Down that
my
way.
boys down there.
Yeah, which was awesome. Awesome. Three very passionate young men making some amazing stuff down there and working with a lot of hand-foraged native Australian ingredients, which I think we've seen them release a little bit of out of the Boobiala gin.
Yep.
And maybe the plum infused one as well.
Yep.
But there is so much more exciting stuff to come out of that place that I can't speak too much about just yet. But lots of fun from southern New South Wales.
I don't know if you can speak about it, but I'm going to speak about it.
You can speak
anyway,
about it.
So there's like a plum-infused liqueur and a gin and that sort of stuff. The Spence plums, did you get access to them?
Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah.
That is good.
Eating them as well.
Yeah, it's sort of like a strain equivalent to like Morello cherry or something.
Yeah.
You can use in cocktails.
And then like probably a bit of stuff, a bit more of a standard sort of London dry style gin to see from those guys as well, which I think is kind of their more of a pouring cocktail G&T sort of everyday stuff.
Yeah.
Which we love that sort of stuff too. So that was pretty cool. And then they pointed me in the direction of a little gin bar called Births and Deaths.
Births and Deaths. Now that rings a bell.
That
I've
was
never been there.
fantastic. Yeah. Definitely one of the more impressive gin selections I've seen in Australia. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then down to this place, I think it was called the Illawarra, which is just a pub on the corner with a few pool tables.
I was going to say, like, it's a region.
Yeah.
There's a bit of it.
And then,
but like the locals will love you calling it the Illawarra.
The Illawarra, yeah. So that was great, but yeah, it was still had the social distancing in play and that sort of thing. Which, who knows which direction that's going to go, but it did look as though all the places that we visited were abiding by the right guidelines, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, any news in the world of wine before we get into? I'm going to get you to dig into the magical spirits box in a second.
Had our first look at some 2020s from out of the Hunter. Last week, from the mighty Angus Vinden. He's got some new whites and some new reds out and available now. They're all looking really, really impressive. But like a little bit of conversation around a smoke taint. None of these were showing any smoke taint. And he was pretty sure that there wouldn't be any in these particular wines. But sort of bits and pieces of information are slowly flowing through. I know that the wine industry was very relieved to see bars and restaurants open back up and get some glasses pouring.
Yeah.
That's about it for me.
Alrighty, so tonight I don't really have anything planned, but I've got a magical box of things which you can probably see a little bit there. Joe, do you want to pick something out? Maybe to start us off with something at the bottom left-hand corner for you. What a surprise! The one I was talking about. So received. I've been very lucky. Had a few sample packs dropped off in the last sort of couple of weeks of some very exciting new things which are coming through. And this arrived this morning, and I haven't had a chance to try it yet. So this is why I sort of guided you towards this.
I like everything that comes out of Farmer's Wife Distilleries.
Yeah, and so this is a new gin from Farmer's Wife Distilleries. So they're in Alworth, up north. Well, sorry for us, that way at the moment, up north. About an hour north of Newcastle-ish, bit inland sort of way. And they've come up with their winter gin, which I honestly don't know too much about because I didn't really look it up before I got on here. But my understanding is a gin that's then spent a bit of time in a barrel from the Blackgate Distillery out of Mendooran near Dubbo. So for anyone who was on the stream a couple of weeks ago now, we saw the barrel-aged gin from Carew Distillery. Their collaboration with the Craftworks out at Kapiti there. So it is the season for barrel-aged gins, and I think barrel-aged gins in general are quite a new concept. Not a new concept, old Tom, that style of barrel-aged gins for hundreds of years. But in the modern contemporary gin boom, particularly in Australia, it's quite a new concept. And people are doing it, and some people are getting it right, and some people are sort of missing the mark a little bit. But where we are seeing a lot of it is in winter-style gins. to give that sort of warmth and spice and roundness to gins. One of my favourite discoveries of the past couple of weeks is gin barrel-aged bitters, which I didn't know I needed in my life until I tried it. Now,
Gin barrel-aged bitters.
Gin barrel-aged bitters, or gin barrel-aged orange bitters, actually it is, from Fee Growers. But so this is a barrel-aged gin. Now, the Farmer's Wife gin we quite like here, as you sort of mentioned before. It's sort of like quite a warming, like native spice sort of gin. Still with, reasonably prominent juniper and, hints of citrus, but it's on that sort of barky, warmer side of things. And a quick g'day to Capital Brewing on the Instagram and Craig on the Facebook, who is having a harness down in Victoria in the shed with the fire going. And I'm glad you're staying inside, Craig, at the moment, because I know your area was identified as a COVID hotspot this morning, the Hallam Pakenham area. That's where outbreaks are. So,
stay in your shed.
Stay inside, stay in your shed. Don't spread that shit anywhere. We don't want it. So, this barrel-aged gin, I've never tried this before. Honestly, don't know too much about it. But on the nose, it has that same sort of like lemonade-y, sherbety thing.
That citrus.
Yeah,
so
that
piercing.
is a little bit bigger in this than in the standard one, I think, in the standard Farmer's Wife. 500 mils, these bottles. That one's a little bit smaller, obviously being sample bottles, but 500 mils. That is what the label sort of looks like. You can't read that, but same sort of colours. But quick question from Whiskyography on the Instagram there. Barrel-aged gins, are we about to see more Geneva? I don't know that we are. Geneva had its time in the sun as a subsect of the gin category where sort of bartenders around, particularly Europe, were going like, Geneva is going to be the next big thing. And it never really kicked you. Like Old Tom, not Old Tom, old Duff's.
Right.
No, Duff's, Phil Duff's Geneva, made in a very traditional, Dutch Geneva sort of style. And that's probably the one that we see the most here. Zwiedam in Holland do one as well. But yeah, I don't think we are, particularly not in Australia. I think we're still learning about gin, and in terms of like gin sales, people are going, oh, it's flatlining. And yeah, it is a little bit, but what we're seeing is in that, amount of gin sales, the premium and the small and the craft element of that is still growing. So we're still doing that, and there's so many gins out there. I don't think we've got to the point where people go, I'm ready to move on from gin.
Yeah,
You're getting stuff like this. There's not yet a point where people are going, I need Geneva in my life.
Yeah.
It might come, but a lot of things have been touted as the next best thing in the past 5, 10, 100 years that don't always come through.
Yeah, I feel like as well with gin, especially just noting that births and deaths that we're at a couple of weekends ago, but I think it's quite unique as a spirit category because if you have one whiskey or one rum or one anything else, you have one drink. Whereas if you look at gin, you have a Farmer's Wife gin, but then you have your soda, then you have your tonic, then you have your fresh apple juice, and then you have your tonic with cucumber, and you have your tonic with grapefruit. So it's this massive, I guess, like almost like family tree of different drinks. It's like, okay, you've tried Hendrick's. Have you tried Hendrick's and ginger ale? And then all of a sudden, it's another reason to go back and drink Hendrick's. Whereas I feel like there's a few other spirit categories that have that.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, you're right. And there's other categories that can get away with that, but they're not always pushed that way.
No,
and it's not as immediate and obvious in gin. To the point, it's the opposite. If you went into a gin bar or just any bar and said, "Hey, can I have a gin?" The first question is going to be, "What do you want with it?" Whereas an Armagnac, a cognac, a whiskey, a rum, people go, "So just neat." That's the assumption. Whereas I think that's just the difference in that mentality, which is why, again, another good point where, I think the interest in gin has still got a long way to go. And it's such a great spirit. It's so versatile. It can be so many things, and you can, it's not, no matter where you are in the world, you can have a gin that's intrinsically of that place. Because if you use local botanicals, whether that's, an Australian desert, an Australian seaside town, a Californian forest, a Mongolian, what have they got up there? Lots of vast expanses of places with not a lot of, big trees and things. But like you can have anything that goes bang. This is where this comes from, and this tastes like nowhere else. So I think there's a lot of ownership around gins, which is why we don't stock a lot of international ones. We might have one from each country, and then you'll get some, a tourist or someone or like an expat to come to you and it's like, hey, you gotta have these 50 Italian gins, you gotta have these 50 South African gins or the Spanish gins. I was like, they're all great, but why would I, where's the call for the oak barrel to be the, Australian outlet for Spanish gins?
Yeah. So it must be such a job, I guess, having to try and maybe sell those international sorts of gins. I mean, from more of a rep perspective, to walk in and see 80 Australian gins on the shelf, and they still want more. And then you've got your French something or other.
Even English gins.
Can be
a tough sell. But where I've seen it done quite well in the marketplace is not necessarily through us, it's through other retailers, like your chains. You've got something very classic British looking, a supermarket chain might do well with that. But some of the more crafty ones that have a price point that's not dissimilar to the stuff that we play with, then you do have cocktail competitions. Getting bars excited about it, getting on cocktail menus, getting that use. I think that's where those gins really go quite well and tend to flourish in the marketplace. So what do we think about that?
It's interesting. I'm finding quite a polarizing nose to palate transition.
Yeah.
I'm getting like a lovely freshness and that bright citrus, that lemon sherbet that you hinted at. Maybe a nuance of wood, if that little bit of sort of caramel lick right at the back.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find exactly some times
on the palate. The palate feels a lot more barrel aged.
Yeah.
It's rounder, it's creamier. There's more mocha. There's less citrus. There's probably more darker green herbs coming through, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certainly an element of using a barrel as a botanical, which is something that Aliez from the Carroll Distillery was quite clear and precise about in our chat a couple of weeks ago. Is that you go in and you use it. You don't have a finished gin and then hope that it makes it better and hope that it doesn't stuff it up. You've got a gin and you go in and then that's, you have to think about what that is. And there's a comment on the Facebook there that, just at a base level, what is gin? And it's essentially vodka spirit with juniper berries to give you that freshness and then anything else that you want on top of that. So all different types of botanicals and spices and herbs and that sort of thing. So, juniper is quite potent, and juniper doesn't always like the influence of oak, which can be, honeys, vanillas, then, caramels, and then spice and tannin. They're not always great bedfellows with juniper. So, I think the nose on this is the star. It's sort of ticked the boxes for that winter. It's sweeter than their standard one. Like there's more of that sherbet lemonade-y thing that I get straight off. And it's almost like the post-mix lemonade when it's still in the syrup form. It's got that real concentrated sweetness. And then, the palate has that spice. And I think, it's, as you say, it's where the barrel aging element of it comes in to the punch. I'll just see. I had a bit of trouble getting this up, but I'll see if I can find some information on it.
But along with this, and then the Karoo crafty one. How cool is it to see Australian distilleries working together? Maybe not just on the one thing. Seeing like an Aussie whiskey distillery and an Aussie gin distillery.
And that's
shaking hands. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's the the spirit industry, and so in this case the whiskey industry relies on wine producers, whether it be for fortified or other types of wine for for their barrels, and then that's sometimes often we make our whiskey, we make our rum, we make our whatever, barrels good, that's the end of their journey. This is like another outlet to go with this. So so this is this is actually their standard gin going into a Blackgate whiskey barrel. Blackgate whiskey barrels tend to be big sherry and port casks, so they're going to give a quite a big to go with that.
Also a peated Blackgate barrel.
Yeah. Now they're saying this this is got a hint of smoke on this. which I didn't pick up initially. Did you? Now, if I go back, I didn't. There was spice at the back end and certainly a barrel aged element, but I didn't get maybe a bit of tannin, but I didn't get smoke as such. Going back, certainly not on the nose. I don't think. Might be on the palate.
I mean, I don't know if it is just an aeration thing, but that citrus thing is certainly starting to fade a little bit more, and I'm getting a lot more of that cardamom-y baking spice come through.
Yeah.
On the nose.
Yeah. Certainly more spice than the standard gin, but I think that's really smart. Just looking at their website there, it's actually sold out through their website, so I don't know if I can get any. With that, might have done its dash. One other exciting thing from my very good friends at an establishment bar in Dubbo have just announced a tasting, one of their next tribute tastings, which is Farmer's Wife and Blackgate presenting a night there together.
Yeah, cool.
So I'm going to leave that night
That'd be awesome.
Next day off because I am making my way to Dubbo for that one, which would be awesome. It's such a great little bar out there. They're actually on the Today Show, that morning TV show that I don't know anything about, but apparently is big for people who are watching TV at that time in the morning. But yeah, they were at Dubbo doing a bit of a cocktail, 7 a.m, 8 a.m, whatever time Today Show is, which was kind of cool. I'd like to see them getting a lot of as much press. And a town like Dubbo was historically had a couple of wine bars. That's sort of like we're a cafe in the morning. We have 10 wines at the end of the night, and there's like a gin bar, but it's just like a converted pub essentially. So there's so much space, and it's really hard to build, communities and like intimate venues when you're essentially converting, a very big pub with a very big floor space. To have establishment bar, which is still big by Sydney size. It's like it's a speakeasy, and you go maybe fit 4,000 people in here if you tried. But yeah, so that's a really new thing for them at an establishment. So yeah, I really hope it goes well for them, and hopefully I can be there to sit in the crowd and drink piss and be happy. Yeah,
I mean, I haven't been out yet, but I'm planning a trip out very soon as well. But do you know, are they like a 7-day-a-week thing?
Not Tuesdays.
Okay.
So they do a hospo discount night on the Monday and not Tuesday. I don't actually know what their current hours are in this post lockdown world. But yeah, certainly like Sunday tends to be a bit of live music and comedy and that sort of stuff as well. There's a few burlesque nights that have gone through. But yeah, the tastings I've run out there have either been on the Tuesday, where the venue's typically closed, or now they have the back room. Sort of did Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. I think last time we were out there in the back room, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, hopefully work on a few other interesting things with those guys out there. I quite like that gin.
I really rate it.
Kylie's going to be getting a call or an email from me tomorrow morning to see if there's any left of that. Was retailing for about the $100 mark on their website, so it'll be similar for us if we can get our hands on anything. Largely that sort of thing comes down to barrels are not cheap. They cost a lot of money for distilleries to use, and then once someone like Blackgate, arguably the value might even go up a little bit once that's come out and released their whiskey and a peated whiskey at that.
That's awesome.
So one thing I want to mention as well, just looking at my special box here, a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, maybe more, a little while ago, we did an after hours that we sort of went through the range of spirits from Black Snake, up in northwest New South Wales, who do an Australian agave spirit, so essentially an Australian take on mezcal, in store and online as of the Savo, which is cool. With one thing that we didn't try, a pechuga.
Yeah, right.
Which is basically a mezcal that you redistill, but with chicken breast and fruits and spices and things in there. So, yeah, certainly not vegetarian or vegan if you're interested in such things, but yeah, that's on the website. Their first ever batch, we have bottle number 7.
Yeah, right.
Like literally bottle
that
number
is
7.
so cool.
So, they're really, really tasty. But yeah, they're on there. I wanted to give them a quick shout out while it was in my eyes. But do we want to go into another spirit, or do you want to talk about wine? Or?
I can do another spirit. I think I've got a feeling the wine's going to be quite bold.
Quite big, okay, yeah. Big party time. When
we won't be getting much citrus after that.
All right, I will this time not guide you towards anything. All you can see is bottle tops. Take your pick. Quick game's a good game.
Yeah?
Yeah, okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
So this is not something we stock, but something we're looking at stocking. I've got another glassware here if you want it. But this is, we're going from gin onto whiskey to a whiskey that is the Tomatin cask strength, using both bourbon and sherry casks. We're going to 57.5, well chosen, Joey. So this is a miniature of something that was dropped off to us. Again, for evaluation, if it's something we'd like to stock in the store, which is basically what After Hours is the store being closed and us sitting around talking rubbish and evaluating new drinks and drinks that we've just got in and drinks that we're thinking about. So this is going to be a little bit different. Do you want to pour a little bit? I'm going to find a glass to join you. Oh, beauty, cheers. So, Tomatin Highland whiskey. They do both peated and unpeated ranges. The biggest is the Tomatin range, which is the one that we see the most of. And so this is unpeated, bourbon and sherry cask. I don't have any idea on price or what this is. I could look it up, but I'm not going to because we should try these things first.
So this it's interesting to me, because we just pulled it out of a box there, but it's probably one of the few times we've done a distillery release whiskey from Scotland on the show.
Yeah, from Scottish ones.
It always seems to be
it's always Indies.
single casks or Indies.
Yeah, which is, to be honest, where the store is sort of headed at the moment. There's a lot of value in independent bottlings and that's something. This actually came from in a box that had some other whiskies that had Douglas Lane.
Right.
Independent bottlings. So
of that distillery?
No, not of this distillery, but from the same importer. So they sort of went, you're buying us? Hey, just have a go at this one as well. So bourbon and sherry cask, don't know the makeup. As I said, 5%. Now the tagline of Tomatin's always been the softer side of the Highlands. Very soft spirit. They had some pretty cool age statements in the past. They've now done a lot of experimental stuff. This is not as experimental as some of their other ones are. It's a pretty straight up and down, cask strength version. But it's something I haven't tried before. And on the nose, it's like a lot of malt. That sort of very classic sweet malt thing, which you do get with some of these whiskies. I know there was a Ben Riach single cask that we tried a little while ago, I think, maybe in the last one, also from a secret box, and that was that similar sort of element. I would say that this is looking at about the 7 or 8 years old mark on average, based on that sort of fresh, vibrant sort of note. Like, it's not jammy, it's not spirity, but that malt is front and centre. Yeah. What's your first impressions?
It smells like sherry aged Highland whiskey.
Yeah.
I think it's really sort of elegant on the nose for that proof.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the ones that come out and just go.
It's certainly not aggressive.
I think I had a bit of a question in my head or a point, but in mentioning that this is one of the few distillery release Scottish malts that we've done, I was almost thinking, prior to tasting that, it would be something that my palate is a little bit shocked by.
Okay.
I think this style, because there's always these kind of crazy cask things or crazy proofs or anything like that. This is just silky and orange fruits and
a lot of orange citrus palate. I don't know whether that's a hangover from the quite citrus heavy gin we just had, but certainly that sort of zesty, tangy sort of thing.
Yeah,
particularly on the palate.
A lot of marmalade, a lot of dry apricot.
Yeah,
like walnut.
Yeah,
it's pretty tasty.
Yeah, I think the finish is a little bit short for me, just on the end there. I think it's a smart, well-made whiskey. From a business point of view, does this work at the Oak Barrel in terms of it's almost certainly going to sit above $100? I'd say somewhere between 100 and 150, probably around the 125 mark. There's a bit of competition in that scale, and as we said, like a lot of maybe not pure cask strength, but some indie bottlings from distilleries that are either like single cask or a couple of casks vatted together that have probably a little bit more interest factor in them at that same price point. And I think the biggest thing for me when tasting something like this is what its immediate competition is going to be is a whiskey that we haven't done on this stream, which is Distillery Bottling, which is the Ben Riach cask strength batch 2. 60.2%. It's not the one I actually was referencing just before, but that sits for us at 105 on the shelf, so 94.50 for members type of thing. I think it's a better whiskey than this. I think it's more round. I think just like there's a little bit more going on. I think that sort of that citrus and that tang is a little bit outside of the mouth. I mean, it's a very good whiskey. It's very well put together. If I had to put them side by side, gun to my head, I'm probably leaning towards the Ben Riach. I think I'd have to think about this one. This is not a necessary, not because it's a bad whiskey, just because this is a real life decision that you need to make in a retail environment. All your favourite whiskies might be the exact same spec. Can't means that I have 4-year-old Campbelltowns and nothing apart from 4-year-old Campbelltowns. You know what I mean? So it's I mean, what do you think? Like what? I guess that's quite a good exercise as well. Is if this was to sit somewhere between that 100 and 150 mark, where would you feel comfortable? Would you reckon you could sell this for $150 or?
I'd say yes, but I think just out of like a pure buzzword thing.
Okay.
I mean, like it's like if you had if you coming in and looking for a whiskey that was a Scotch whiskey that spent some time in a sherry cask, you quite easily go, yep, cask strength, yep, bourbon, yep, sherry, yep, distilleries. Did it have an age statement on it?
No.
Yeah.
I don't honestly know the makeup of this, whether it's 50-50 bourbon and sherry. Based on those, I'd probably lean towards 75 bourbons, 25% sherry. Again, absolutely no idea. Just throwing darts into the board at the moment here.
But I do think that like you said, it's probably like it just ticks boxes. I mean, and that to some people they might really really enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Yeah. What do you think of that bottle shape as well? Because that is a miniature version.
Yeah. So it's sort of like skews outward.
Yeah. And the exact same label basically. And it doesn't jump out to me.
It's quite just like a standard almost Scottish bottle shape though, isn't it? Really that kind of.
Yeah, it is, but it jumps to me a little bit as we've decided we need to upgrade our labels because they were very stock standard, spirit bottle type thing with the Tomatin label on them. To go something a little bit more, refined, something a little bit more sculpted, but like keeping the cleanliness of that sense of history while being modern. And I just wonder whether, for me, missed the mark maybe a little bit by they seem quite. Even now, it's about 3 years into the rebrand, I think. For me, it just feels a little bit dated already. Like they haven't gone ultra modern and they haven't gone ultra classic, and they've gone somewhere in the middle. But I don't necessarily think it's a timeless design. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something that you would on a wall, at a bar, at a retail, even at home, you'd gloss past it more often than not. There's nothing that grabs you. In our shelves, like there's very rarely 20 bottles from the same distillery or bottler that all look the same. The shelves are up and down and different shapes, different sizes. For a reason. Because it's interesting, it catches the eye. So I'm not sure that but good whiskey. I'd have to have a think from a commercial aspect.
I mean, it's almost dangerous to start throwing the word smashable around with
50
strength whiskey,
57.5% on the table.
But like if you had to, I mean, that's pretty, backyard patio, with your mates kind of deal. Sweet, high proof. You sort of you're tasting it.
Yeah. Quick shout out to Daniel Hopper. Daniel Hopper. Sorry, 1P would be Hopper, wouldn't it? Evening, lads. Just finished the Whisky Club tasting with Lark. Yes, the Whisky Club Birdies Club down in Tassie released Lark, the biggest Lark bottling ever because the Whisky Club is too big to just do single casks.
Yeah, right.
There's too many members. How's the pen game tonight? The pen game is very strong, actually. Thank you very much, Daniel. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually a Parker. It was a limited edition Parker pen. It's a gold nib, so it's got a little bit more push than, say, the Otto Hut, which I had on last night, which is a stainless steel nib, so it's a little bit more rigid. What that means in real terms, it's more expressive in terms of the way it writes. It's a little bit more finessed. It's actually coated in rhodium though, so it's rust proof, but it is a gold nib. So that's my pen game. Thank you for asking. I hope that everyone would ask me questions about pens every day.
I hate it when my pens rust.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You just hate it when I to talk about pens. Matt Waller coming off, and I was tuning into the All Matt show, no gloss, All Matt on the Society tonight. Before we jumped online, Matt Waller and Matt Bailey on Society stream. Some whiskies you have no idea the ABV is so high, and that's very true, and that can come down to a number of things. A lot of the time it's also what you've done that day, what your taste buds are doing. Have you tried whiskies beforehand? Is your first beer of the day? But yeah, 100%, And I think that's a sign of a well-made whiskey, and also a well-matured whiskey. It's very easy to have a great spirit and you release it too young, and you're just vibrant and a little bit too aggressive on the palate. I quite like it because I like tasting young spirit, because it gives me a bit of a fascination and an idea of what that distillery's DNA is, and then potentially where it's come from, where it might go. But for the 99.9% of drinkers and the 90% of the time I want to drink, you just want something that's easy. What's the one descriptor that when people are first getting into whiskey, hey, I'm buying a whiskey for someone, I don't know what they want, something smooth. And that's what whiskey is considered to be. It's an aged spirit. It's smooth. And I know that people get angry, not angry, but I hate it when people describe whiskies as smooth. But for people who are just getting into the game, that's a big deal, and so it should be. That's why I fell in love with Jameson when I was 18 years old as my first true love. And it's just the only love. It's actually my longest love now as well, Jameson.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm 65 years old.
Take that, other love.
Yeah, 65 years old now. So from 18, that's quite a long love affair. Because it was smooth.
Yeah.
And I love the way it is. It's obviously grain spirit, and I think grain spirit has renaissance to come. But anyway, sidetrack. But I don't know what the question was, and I hope that answered it. And if not, this is after hours. This is what this is. So
and I think that's just touching back on the fact that we don't necessarily taste or drink a lot of, I guess, Scott or normal distillery release stuff in this format. Certainly drink lots of Jameson and all the other rest out at bars and that kind of thing. But I think I know I forget sometimes that yes, Jameson's supposed to taste the same every time you have the bottle. Yes, Johnny Walker Red is supposed to taste the exact same every time you yes, Glenlivet's supposed to taste exactly the same, and I feel like that is what do you say, 95% of the whiskey industry is
99.
99, yeah, of just being I'm gonna drink that Johnny Walker Black because I know exactly what it's gonna taste like, and that's what I like, rather than going, oh yeah, let's have a different whiskey every single day for 10 years.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it's a point I like to make sometimes. If you have 1,000 barrels in your warehouse and you do everything right, in the production mode, all the barrels are going to be different flavors and different qualities. Odds are, and it's just a pure stats game, you're going to have some really cracking single casks in that range. And if you take them out of that pool, don't blend them into your 10-year-old or your whatever you're doing, and release it as it is, that's a cracking whiskey. But that's quite easy to do. That's a numbers game. That's just pure mathematics and averages. What is much tougher is that concept of, hey, I've got these 1,000 barrels. Some of them are awesome. Some of them are not so good. And, I need to create a consistent product year in, year out. That's why, the blenders who are the top of their game and are probably earning the most money are your Rachel Barrys, are your Richard Pattersons, all these people, and maybe not Rachel Barry, but certainly Richard Patterson's game, they do blends. The team making Johnny Walker, all those ranges, from red up to, Ghost Blue Label with, 2 drops of Port Ellen in them. That's where the real skill is, which is quite interesting. So for a couple of new people that are joining, we're in the warehouse, so you can't always see the bottle, and the bottle's very small. We're actually on the Tominton cask strength at 57.5%. A couple of quick questions coming in here from Whiskyography. You loved Jameson before pens and trains. Yes, I think I did. I loved handwriting at that time. I'm not sure I enjoyed good pens. I didn't quite know about how good pens were. But I was pretty into trains at that point.
Yeah.
So you might have called me up on that. Might be in the realm of my biggest loves. And Chris Ray says, I'm looking forward to the Westwood Stout cast tasting. Hopefully the postie shows up soon. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so.
Basically, our last 3 months here at the Oak Barrel have been doing not a lot, but packing boxes, sending them out, and then just watching screens. Words like in transit and delayed because of COVID, and that hoping they get to words like delivered. Nothing for me. And I think people, I'm pretty sure when they announce word of the year, it's going to be either unprecedented or pivoted. Which have also banned unprecedented, we now call daiquiri, pivoted, we now say martini. But I think the word of the year 2020 should be delivered.
Delivered.
With a little green tick next to it. That's the word that I want to see there.
Well, even in that case, though, sometimes that word delivered doesn't actually mean delivered.
No.
As we've discovered.
Delivered somewhere. Yeah. May not be where it was meant to go, it just was delivered to an rudimentary point in the universe.
Until you have it in your hand and send us a photo, that's when we're going to feel most comfortable.
Yeah. All right, well, that sort of wraps up that one, I reckon. Yeah. Should we do some vino? Should we have another sort of spirit?
Should we rip into this wine then, I guess?
Let's do wine.
We've
been going for 45 minutes, and we have not tasted grapes. And I can see you're getting the shakes.
Much like yourself, I had a few ideas of what I wanted to taste tonight, and maybe as a funny little time with the last part is like there are a few that I knew that were going to taste really good.
Tasty delivery, success.
We've had a bit of luck in Tassie recently.
Yeah,
it seems to be places like Vaucluse.
Yep.
And
don't live in Vaucluse or Bondi.
And Enmore.
Yeah.
So that's really hard to get them there. We get up to Tasmania and West Perth.
Yeah, West Perth. Ignore it. Sorry, Joey.
No, so I had a few in mind that I knew that were going to taste good, and I knew that I could sit here and talk about them for hours and hours and hours and go on and on and on. There is one wine that I pulled tonight, though.
And while you pour that, quick score update between the mighty Sydney Swans and Footscray Bulldogs, who call themselves something stupid like Western or the Western Bulls 69ers these days. No, Footscray Bulldogs. Score update at quarter time is the game's been cancelled. Nothing's happening. Nothing to see here, and we're definitely not going to read out the scores. No, it doesn't happen. So
can you make like a little score pop up?
No, we can't. I'm looking forward to a great comeback in the second, third, and fourth quarters.
Well, to be fair, the Auckland Blues are just about to set the biggest win record in their team's history. Next week?
Two in a row.
Right. Yeah. All off the back of Bowden Barrett and Dan Carter.
And not even Australian teams to, bully around.
Well, no, because that would make it even easier.
Grapes. Because we're having questions from the wine about what are the grapes.
All right. Well, so there was a few that I had in mind that I wanted to, was going to try and yarn on and on about, and they came from places like Goals in Austria and the Jura in France, which I'm sure are all sick and tired of hearing me talking about that. To celebrate episode 30. So I grabbed one that I've had on my desk to open for a little while now, and just have never, haven't found a good reason to in the last couple of weeks, but I thought this would be a really cool opportunity to open still an obscure wine. I'm not going to do anything that's not obscure. But Scott, I know you get this as well, but sometimes you might get sent a spirits portfolio, or myself a wine portfolio, or meet a new distributor or importer, and you'll sort of scroll through, and sometimes it is just all right, that sounds interesting, and then you'll spot one thing, and it just makes your ears prick up. And I know this because you handed me a sample bottle this morning of something that I'd never heard of, but it made your ears prick up.
Yeah. And I already made my opinion before I...
So I don't know if we can mention what that is just yet.
No, we can't. Because I'm going to lose all my negotiating power for buying that cask if we do.
But so this was... this actually comes through a wine importer and distributor here in Australia that I do quite like. And just carries some producers that I'm incredibly, incredibly fond of, and that's the good team at Bourbon. It's probably too early for Ian Barr to be here yet, but I'm sure he'll be here later to make fun of us. And the reason why this sort of made my ears prick up as I was reading through the portfolio is that it carries a name. I'm not going to... You'll be able to see it, but they won't be able to see it. But it carries the name Elaine, who is a French winemaker based in the region of Crozes-Hermitage. So Crozes-Hermitage is sort of next to Hermitage, believe it or not, up in the northern Rhone Valley. Red's made predominantly from Shiraz or Syrah over there, Shiraz as we know it here in Australia, and home to perhaps some of the most famous Shiraz and red wine in the world. There are some incredibly famous wines coming out of places like Crozes-Hermitage, like Saint Joseph, like Condrieu for whites, and the hill of Hermitage itself. So I got into Elaine's wines a couple of years ago, and they are pretty much wines that I've always spoken about. The wines of the Northern Rhone, the reds, is these big, robust, intense, smoky, spicy expressions. And I think his wines, for me, sum it up really, really well. Is their smoke and cracked pepper and, you know, scorched earth and like really lovely.
Scorched earth, I like that.
Really lovely, like big,
I like a bit of scorched earth.
Big, bold Northern Rhone Syrah. So I saw this wine pop up on the portfolio, and one wine that I hadn't, I wasn't too familiar with at the time. So I sort of did a little bit of digging, and I sort of, okay, Elaine Gros, okay, Syrah. So it actually is labelled Sirocco. And
Sirocco used to be a band that would come around to your primary school in New South Wales and play like woodwinds.
Yeah, and they had coffee as well, I think. There's like a coffee bean coming in.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. And so after a small amount of research, and I do have sort of notes in front of me here as well, just so I don't get anything wrong, but this is actually a Syrah produced in Morocco.
Ah.
Yeah. So
that's a new little tab on the website.
Yeah,
Did you have to go print out the new little thing for the store?
Well, when I went to go make the tag country Morocco, it wasn't made yet.
Yeah. It's like, would you like to see our Morocco section?
So another reason, it comes from the appellation or the region, Zenata, and it's done in conjunction with a winery called the Thalvin Winery. And what this basically is we just see a little bit of it here in the wine industry of winemakers sort of teaming up with other people, basically consulting for them. And so what Elaine did was he and his sons Maxime and Antoine, they were holidaying in Morocco and bike riding through these vineyards there. And I guess he sort of saw his the potential for these wines and noticed that they were making Syrah like he was doing in the Northern Rhone.
And to those people on Facebook and Instagram going, Morocco, question mark?
Yeah.
Yes, Morocco, full stop.
Moroccan Reds.
Moroccan Reds.
Yeah.
We're rocking Moroccan.
So
that was pretty good, come on.
Come
on, someone.
So I hunted down some bottles. Never tried it. This is the first time opening it here. But I saw Graillot and Syrah on the label, and I just thought, what could go wrong? So it is so Zenata is the region between Casablanca and Rabat. Cool winds blowing off the Atlantic, no polluting industries whatsoever. The Thalvin Winery has been around since the 1920s. When Elaine found their gorgeous property, he formed a partnership with them to provide Syrah and Cinsault vines for his own Moroccan wines. So he's supplied the vines for this winery, for this wine, by the sounds of it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he saw the site and noticed the potential for the site that was quite similar to his in the Northern Rhone, and he went to them and said, I want to help make Syrah here.
I've got a lot of questions about Moroccan wine that I really don't think
I'm going to be able to answer.
No. But Vic Whiskey chimes in on the Instagram saying he's obviously got Google in front of him, or maybe he's just a very knowledgeable person. Similar weather to Madeira Island, apparently.
Yeah. I don't think it would be as... I don't know. It might be as humid as Madeira, but certainly similar climatic patterns here.
Yeah. So, I mean, in previous after hours, in fact, in 29 previous after hours, you've gone quite in depth into soil content and texture. And so, grain by grain, can you give me some soil content in Morocco? This was the one
part that I did write down. So, it's a relatively cool climate and low altitude. So it's in the middle of a place called the Middle Atlas Mountains, and it's a mix of red and black clay over a limestone base and ancient ocean bed remnants. There you go. Those are all my favourite things.
Yeah, okay.
Red clay.
Yeah.
Limestone.
So red clay is quite dense
and water retentive.
Okay, but
Yep.
so
and it keeps its warmth as well,
yeah,
which
so
is
your
very good
roots
for these varieties.
potentially won't go down as far, and then they won't. But where the far they do go, they're going to be quite healthy with water.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Is that they're gonna need to sort of fight for it a little bit, but then it works well for drier, I guess, warmer climates. Like the Northern Rhone, and we do see a little bit of red clay. A bit of limestone in the Northern Rhone as well, but limestone as well is generally quite nutrient rich.
Okay.
As well, so that's always good. I don't know too much about black clay, but then ocean bed remnants.
I'm just going to edit that graphic on the Facebook that says "Soil Nerd" as your title. I'm going to get rid of
that. Yeah. So that was that. Yeah. So I've just had this sitting here, waiting to be opened for a little while now.
Yeah. G'day to Vanilla Strat saying he's looking at used Syrah, and Vic Whiskey's actually been to Morocco twice.
There you go.
So
know more than me about Morocco wine.
Yeah, better than my Google skills. But interesting. So I mean, I can't say I've ever tried a Moroccan wine. Tried a lot of Moroccan food. In fact, in Paris, a lot of great Moroccan restaurants through there because a lot of early immigration through there. But the nose was big, it was quite broad, dry, and like the entry to palate I found was quite dry. Then like lots of fruit in the middle, and then dry on the finish as well, which is my very technical wine terms, obviously.
Dry, dry,
and then fruit, and then dry, and being liquid, it was quite wet as well.
And I drank a whole bottle and I felt really good afterwards.
Yeah, but like, a bit of time in the air.
So one thing that I will say is, having drank Elaine's wines before, and it doesn't make any sense to draw a comparison from a Syrah wine made in Morocco to a Syrah wine made in the Northern Rhone. I'd like to say I'd see similarities in the wines. This definitely, I think for me, is a little bit, you can tell it's like a bit sort of younger. It probably doesn't get the oak regime that Elaine gives his wines. Which it does say here.
Has it seen any oak?
15 months in tank, and then finished in large oak casks from Burgundy, Francois Frères. So they're quite common, Francois Frères. Barrels. But I was really excited to try this just because
it's Moroccan wine.
It's Moroccan wine, and I always like to try and chase that sort of sense of place and imagine if I was in Morocco. Does this feel like I'm in Morocco? I don't know.
Yeah. Paris is the closest I've been to Morocco. And I don't say that just offhandedly because I went to a Moroccan restaurant in Paris, but there are some great, and they're everywhere, like little small 20 people things. It's all hand food. And again, the Australian tourist in Paris. There's my authentic or Moroccan adventure, so it's obviously not quite, but I can see how this would match that food, that quite dry.
Yeah, absolutely. But spice driven as well.
Yeah. The more air that's coming into it, particularly on the nose, I'm getting more of that vegetal sort of note. Not stalky, I don't think.
No.
Which you get on some young Pinots from this country and other places.
And Northern Rhone Syrah as well.
Yeah,
but it's interesting you say not stalky because it is 100% destemmed.
Okay.
So there's no stemming in there, which I believe he practices as well.
Tip for Fitzsimons.
Yeah. But that so one of the ones that was jumping out at me right on the nose there was this fresh black olive.
Yeah, okay.
It really reminds me of being in an olive grove a little bit.
So yeah, as I said a couple of months ago, I did go and pick black olives, and I think my impression of fresh black olives now is very different because I've got to try a couple of these, right?
Oh yeah,
these are pretty good.
Whoa. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
And after the first one, you say, I'll go back, try another one.
But savoury, umami, mushroom nose.
Yeah.
Dark plum.
Would you say a little bit of rancio on there?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit?
Well, good amount of acidity. which I find quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And on the palate, really, like in that middle like burst of fruit, it sort of leads into the finish there.
And then there's really I don't know, almost like supple tannin give towards it. It's not a face ripping tannin style of any way. It's quite a generous fruit driven finish.
Yeah. Just quickly check the time here as well. We're about an hour in, so our friends on Instagram, we might drop out. I forget exactly the minute I went live, and as I think I commented in the group, we're using a little bit of a new software, so unfortunately I can't wave at everyone as you come into the thing. But if we disappear for 30 seconds, that's probably why. In the next 5 minutes, at some point, we will stop. I don't know when that's going to be. I can't see it at the moment. Okay. So what are we talking about price-wise on this?
So, price this up earlier.
Oh, so this is brand new. This is not on the shelf?
This is brand new. It went on the shelf today.
Okay, right.
Yeah. That's about $38.
Okay.
Yeah. 38, 39.
Yeah, that's pretty good for Moroccan wine.
But Moroccan wine made by someone that it's not like David Beckham putting his name on the label.
Yeah.
It's someone pretty serious in the French
happened with whiskey.
Which has happened with whiskey.
Hague's Club. God.
I thought that was a perfume the first time I saw it.
Yeah, well, that's probably the best use for it was perfume. Yeah, I mean, and just in terms of pure pricing, one of the things that we find, wines from Georgia, Croatia, these sort of smaller producing countries, and even though like Georgia, obviously, very famous producing country, but in terms of imports into Australia are quite small, there's an economy of scale. You're not selling a pallet of Georgian wine a week to the restaurants around Sydney, so it's smaller, it takes a little bit more time, there's more man hours involved with all of this, so I'm actually surprised it is at that price. I was expecting about the $50 mark, given the quality, but also given that is
what it is, and
even from the man hours of walking into a retailer or a restaurant or anywhere, or even from a retailer's point of view or a sommelier at a restaurant's point of view, it's like, let me tell you about Moroccan wine. Moroccan wine? Yeah, and so that's like, add 5-10 minutes to any conversation, any meeting that you would have pretty immediately.
I mean, I can only imagine this is how it happens, but this is a distributor that does quite a lot of French wine out of France, so I can only imagine that this gets put into a container in France that's brought over in that go. I don't think they're obviously not bringing it straight out of Morocco. Yeah.
So there's a bit of they're helping out there.
Yeah.
You probably can't see the label there, but it's got a tandem bicycle on it, which is excellent. If my mum was watching right now, which I'm sure she's one of the two people watching right now, the second one will be my father in the other room. This is sold. Anything with a bicycle on the label is immediately sold.
I was pleasantly surprised, and like I said, it's been sitting there, and I took a punt on a few bottles to have here in the store, just because I thought the idea of having rock and roll, this wine was cool, and
pretty cool.
I was pretty confident it wasn't going to be awful, but I think it's actually probably exceeded my expectations, that's for sure.
Quick g'day to my wine saver, to KK2707. Yes, again, I struggle with Instagram because if they're not real names, being very old confuses and scares me, what I'm not used to. We might jump off at any moment now because our hour's going to be up, but we'll be back for a second hour if we do. KK2707 says, cool, Moroccan wine. I reckon I agree. 100%. Very, very cool.
But I know, whenever I sort of stumble across things like this, I know I'm going to lose at least a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, on just harassing people across the country if they've got any Moroccan wine and will they sell it to me.
So, I mean, maybe this is a question for the second hour, but do we know, is there, what's the history of wine in Morocco?
Well, yes.
Is there a history?
I imagine so. I only got as far as finding this wine on Google before we started, but
yeah. Good question there from Vanilla Strat on the Instagram, and it's probably for you, Joey. What's one of the? Oh, hold on. that was the unexpected stop, I think. So sorry, Facebook, bear with us while we come back. But we have the question. Basically, what's the most unexpected country you've had a wine from?
Most unexpected country you've had a wine from?
Yeah, or like, yeah.
I mean, maybe we'll get it up and running again on
yeah, we'll just
start, but just to roll through that a little bit more. I don't know. I mean, there's heaps, but I'm trying to think of what's the most unexpected. We see. I tasted like a lot of stuff out of the Netherlands when I was in Hong Kong last.
Okay.
I've been told, I'm pretty sure there is stuff being made in Sweden now.
Yes.
In those southern ranges of
and we were spoken about this because the global warming is pushing things up. Yeah. Or it's like in terms of like it's pushing suitable, wine conditions further north of the equator, which is very interesting.
I had a bit of wine out of Belarus, which was quite interesting. Azerbaijan, Algeria.
Well, Azerbaijan makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. A bit of the Baltic countries. I mean, something that I haven't really seen anything come out of like the islands and that sort of thing. I mean, there might be some stuff out of.
So Vanilla Strat has joined us back here on our kicked off after the hour, coming through. Just to quickly recap the wine question there, the most unusual wine producing countries that you've had the ability to try. And just on Facebook here, Matt Wooler, keen to try some of those Chinese wines where they have to lay down and bury the vines in the earth over so that vines don't die. But yeah, I mean, you were talking about Netherlands and Belarus and Azerbaijan and that sort of places.
Belarus, Azerbaijan. I'm sure there's a bit of Chinese wine going around now. You can get some access to that. We're seeing a lot of big French investment going into Chinese wine at the moment.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense because they buy a lot of it. So
that's it.
That's like there's a business term.
I can't remember what it was. I think it was one of the first growth houses. I think it might have been like Lafitte Rothschild or one of them. They did quite a long, almost like documentary type thing on them going and sourcing vines in China.
Well, it's quite
and them sending their winemakers over to go. And,
it's quite a big country.
It's huge, yeah.
There would definitely be some aspects of that. That would be very, suitable to make great
absolutely.
wine out.
I'm trying to think of any more sort of obscure countries. Nothing out of Russia that I've seen, but I'm sure it exists.
Oh yeah, Russian wine exists.
But I mean, I'd love to see somewhere like Fiji or Samoa, but it's probably too hot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great rum from Fiji.
I mean, other countries in Africa would be quite interesting.
Yeah, because you'd be going from Morocco to South Africa. Exactly. There's got to be some bits in the middle there that make sense. And a quick g'day to Vanilla Strat, the wine about, and Tim Boone Distillery jumping in on the Instagram there. Love to see you, Josh, and the team down there. Hope you're doing well, and hope that you're getting some travel tourism back because they did so much by donating hay to the New South Wales farms during drought, before fires, only to see all their business disappear. And obviously, as a distillery, they can send bottles of whisky and things out, but they work a lot with the local communities. It's quite hard to ship ice cream and fresh milk. So I hope all their friends down there are doing well at the moment. But I think getting back to Matt Wooler's comment there, that sort of the Chinese wines where they're having to lay down and bury vines and do all this sort of stuff. Is that are you seeing much of that? We mentioned it briefly in the interval there about Scandinavia and wines, and their problem is they've signed certain EU trade agreements that says one thing you can't do is grow wine because you buy wine from France, Italy, and Spain, and that's part of the deal, and we'll buy XYZ from you. But then to go, hold on, but we all of a sudden our climate is getting warmer and warmer, and we're northern France right now. 30 years ago, we are the perfect place for this sort of stuff. So there's a bit of regulatory things in Europe to get around that. Are there any emerging countries that I don't know what we call after the New World, after places like Australia, New Zealand, America? What's the next wave, do you think?
It's a pretty good question,
Yeah.
to be fair. I mean, I think, like, there's got to be some out there, but at the moment, I think we're seeing there is a lot of wine out there, but there's also, I think it's this interesting clash in, okay, this country can make a lot of wine, how much good wine can it make?
Yeah.
And sort of draw that. And I mean, we saw a lot of sort of predictions and people's like thoughts and theories when the American trade tariffs were going to come in, and just seeing that if those 100% wine tariffs were going to come in on French and European wines and that sort of thing, where was like then American importers would stop bringing it in, it would stop appearing on American wine shelves, then it would have to get dispersed out amongst the rest of the world. So I think like whilst there could be emerging countries, I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head, but I mean I still call Portugal emerging for its dry table wines.
But I guess sort of like the world is getting warmer, so therefore the equator is getting warmer. So we're basically thinking going up, going north and south of the equator. Places like Scandinavia, places like Australia are now growing more Rotane varietals, which obviously you're going to talk about with Kim Chalmers tasting next week after. So I would look like Canada, obviously famous for Canadian ice wine, more Canadian
They're doing
wine.
a lot of dry Canadian wine now.
Yeah. Are we looking at places like your Fijis and Samoas to make that sort of thing? Is that sort of Southeast Asia?
Yeah. I think you could sort of see that around like the reaches of northern Thailand and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But also again, incredibly humid parts of the world.
We all know like Sri Lanka has incredibly fertile, beautiful soil.
Yeah.
Are they maybe too high to the equator that they maybe miss the boat by like being ideal for making wine 50 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is also with those sort of countries, like, yes, you need warmer summers, but you also still need your cold winters.
Yeah, true.
Whereas I think if you're going to be that warm year round, I don't think that's ideal for vines.
I would love to see some southern Sri Lankan wines. Knowing not a lot about Sri Lanka as a country, but just its size and where it is in the world, and just as we know, like their tea and what they produce in that country, they've obviously there's something going on in the soil there that works.
Yeah.
I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, fruits and all the rest.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of the stuff that goes above my head in terms of vine retention and sort of bringing it up. Because there's probably places in old world Europe at the moment that are only making wine there because they planted the vines there 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And in order to plant there now wouldn't be the best decision.
No, and
because they've got that age and that structure. Okay, they can make wine year after year, but you couldn't go and just stick it in the dirt and watch it grow.
That's why, I think wine and whiskey have the same sort of, as opposed to craft beer, which we talk about. You can build a craft brewery anywhere, get your malts and your hops in from anywhere in the world, and have a beer, world's greatest beer by tomorrow, if you get it right.
Yeah.
But like vines, it might only take you 6 months or a year to make your wine from those vines, but the vines take a long time to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Whiskey, once you make it, takes a long time to age. So it's like the pre and the post, but they both take a long time. And so, it's a really interesting question, actually. Like, if we are sitting here in 100 years, and we won't be, as I say, 85 years old, so I've probably got another 5 years left in me. But like, what if we were sitting here, or whoever is running the oak barrel in 100 years' time, sitting in this room through probably better technology than what we've got now.
And they've got shelves full of Sri Lankan wine, and they look back on us going, what are you guys on about?
And like, we're doing things like, you can smell the wine that I'm drinking right now. But like, what do you take? Take a stab, so that some idiot can dig this up at 100 years ago. Those boys got it completely wrong, or got it completely right. I'm going to say Sri Lankan is probably a little bit too high. I think you mentioned Thai wine. I think like
Thai wine,
like Pacific Island wine.
Pacific Islands,
Pacific Island wine. That's what I'm going.
But you also don't have any altitude in the Pacific Islands as well, so that's going to give you immensely hot winters.
But volcanoes.
But also wet winters as well.
Small batch, volcanic soil, Pacific Island wine. Make it happen.
Yeah.
Jerry, make it happen. I'm excited.
I'm going to need to take a 3-month trip to Niue.
Yeah. A quick g'day to Joel, who says, might be out of context, what's your favourite bourbon?
Happy Van Winkle 23-year-old.
Yeah, with Coke.
With Coke.
And yes, it was a bit out of context because we were talking about wine. We'll probably get back on the spirits. We're in the second hour now. Favourite bourbon, off the top of my head at the moment, Weller Special Reserve, $85, 78 for members, smashable wheat bourbon, 30 seconds or less.
I like the Buffalo Trace one we had the other week. That was pretty good.
Just Buffalo Trace?
Just Buffalo Trace, yeah.
$50 Buffalo Trace, can't beat it. Very, very cheap, George Seastag. And a quick g'day to the Whiskey Wine Hustle, who says g'day boys. In there.
I watched their podcast thing the other night. It was really good.
I think Sunday is happening again.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Robbie Tucknett from Whiskey Travellers.
Yeah, awesome.
And works with
Barrels. We get special guests, and it's just us two sitting here.
Yeah, well, you know. we have to slum it to make, you know. So you get us two idiots for one night a week, then you get all the special guests for the other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've obviously we're in the second hour of this, and we're making silly predictions.
Yeah, so I know I see. I mean,
and for those just joining us, 100 years time, what wine are we going to be drinking? I said Pacific Island volcanic soil wine, small batch, because they're not that big. And if the water level hasn't risen so high.
Are we looking at this the wrong way and saying that in 100 years' time, we're going to be drinking wine from a country that doesn't produce wine? Because theoretically, a lot of Morocco, this is the first time either you or I have had a Moroccan wine, but this was there 200-300 years ago.
No, it's more about where, the Morocco section in the Oak Bar right now is one bottle. You've got Australia, you've got France, Italy. Like, what is going to be a designated section in like a bottle store like ours that's boutique, that's maybe going for stuff that isn't hugely produced. So it doesn't need to be, we're not drinking French or we're not drinking Australian wine, but just something new that we're not drinking right now that we will be. And it could be Morocco.
Well, see, that's the thing is I think it'll go, I honestly think it might go back to the Caucasus.
Yeah, okay.
And we'll see
like
Georgia.
Middle Eastern wine.
Yeah. Turkey. That sort of thing. Because it's all there. I think even, I caught up with Tim Stock the other week, and he is sort of the, for Venice, he is one of the go-to Georgian importer. So he sort of brings us pheasants, tears. Pretty much, he brings us our entire Georgian wine selection. And he just had a container land, so we caught up and we tasted through and stuff like that. And he was saying quite passionately to me, he was like, these young guys here now, they're just starting to get it. Like they're just starting to like clean things up a bit. Because as we know, like Georgian wine it's such a family thing over there. And that's always everybody makes wine, everyone trades their wines and stuff like that. He was saying that only in the recent few years have these guys seen wine in Georgia as a commercial product again to export.
Yeah.
And we were tasting through and going, okay, yeah, this is clean. Like, I mean, I've shown you a few Georgian wines where okay, this is pretty full on.
Yeah.
And these were looking like very well put together wines.
Yeah. And when we're doing this proper mirror ball type thing, the one thing we're not looking at, because it's impossible to predict, I don't really want to talk about it, is like the political structures of the world, like Iran and Iraq. Very famous wine producing countries. Yep. There's a bit going on there in the past couple of decades that winemaking hasn't been the top of their priority list.
And that's what happened to these countries as well, though. Yeah,
and so that could completely change, and all of a sudden these fertile lands could come back. Couple of comments coming in here. Yes, paid over $200 for the Weller 12, and the Special Reserve is right up there for a third of the price. Yet there's probably a few things you could say about wheated bourbon and the Special Reserve punching well above its weight. Mr. Paul Downey, who might have something to do with the oak barrel, says that Mount that. TABWEMASANA in Vanuatu is over 6,000 feet above sea level, so quite cool. And I like that sort of side of a mountain type thing. Also, as the barley produces wine by tricking the vines into a dormant phase. I like that. And Matt Wooler says the moon and Mars. And I think, being the soil nerd, what do you reckon? I reckon red dirt Mars soil rather than moon dust. And the moon's made out of cheese, so you can't grow vines on cheese.
They're also incredibly cold places.
Yeah, but haven't you seen those movies? They build a little hut and they put some heaters up and indoor vines. Indoor vines. Maybe that's the future. Indoor greenhouse vines.
It's hydroponic wine.
Hydroponic vines.
Yeah.
Harry Holbrook also says marry more Canadian wine.
Canadian wine for sure.
And that's actually something that's happening already. That you were saying they're making more table wine styles.
Yeah. We're seeing a lot more table wine styles, and even just today, we're writing up. I was writing up a tasting, another virtual tasting that we launched earlier tonight, which is going to be like a little Sicilian wine masterclass virtually with our friends at Saint Wine and Convivium, and just doing a little bit of research on Sicily as a region and how they've only really started looking at still wines in the past sort of 50 years. Before that, it was all Marsala because that's all they thought they could do, and then sort of brought it back around again. I think there's definitely some amazing stuff to come out of Canada. I think it's already there, but just being imported is the next step.
Again,
I mean,
big country.
Yeah,
just pure maths.
They make so much wine in America, and we don't see much of it here.
Yeah,
but purely from a cost thing. But
yeah, and there's also a lot of Americans that drink it.
Yeah,
before we get a chance. Matt Willis says iron, lots of iron in the earth in Mars. I think he's been reading some of those science books. Fake news, mate. Get your signs from Wallace and Gromit. The moon is made out of cheese. That's what I believe in.
But I mean, you could go the other way, and you could start putting vineyards on top of vineyards, or like underneath them, and just lining them up artificially. So you keep the same soil structure, but you just go underneath.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
See? Let's just keep using the earth before we start.
That's like War of the Worlds type.
Yeah.
We're gonna the aliens are taking over. We're going to rebuild the world underground and have this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yes, Stilton, exactly. Stilton
when
cheese.
It happens, I'm going to claim every Grand and Premier and every wine phrase that I can find. I'm going to claim it.
So, you've got international waters and then certain parts of the earth that are claimed. How far down does that go? Does the province of Australia own all of Australia down to the core, or is it 10 k's down and then it becomes international land?
Yeah.
See, these are the big questions that no one's asking. How did we become one of those YouTube channels?
Just breaking it down here in a warehouse in Sydney.
YouTube and Facebook and Instagram are kind of come up with I just check the facts on this video.
Yeah.
Might be misleading statements.
Yeah.
We might get the Trump tag on us.
No ads on this video.
Yeah. Quick. Again, Joel on the Instagram, Oak Barrel Bourbon Barrel Pick. We're working on it. We're thinking about it. But we tend to have whiskey fairs and big events to launch those things at. So we're working on it. It's a long-term thing.
Like a single cask?
A single cask, yeah. I've had that question a little bit in the past 6 months, and it's certainly... So we almost did it last year in a collaboration with a bar in Sydney with the Heavens Hill cask. That was very good, but didn't quite get across the line. But I think this is maybe a question here for you, Joey. What could you put as a six-pack of wine together for those who whiskey drinkers or people who may not be into wine to get into wine for the first time? I think it's almost certainly your to the door packs.
Yeah. So we've got a selection of 6 packs of wines on the website there that were previously called something else, and that we didn't get in trouble. We were about to get in trouble for it, and then
we saw trouble coming out of the hill.
Yeah, and so then we renamed them to the To Your Door packs. So there is a white, a red, and then there's a mixed, and they get updated every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that sort of thing. But that's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's not going to ruin anyone's wallet, but it's generally stuff that I pick or the team helps me pick and put together. So it's $99 free delivery, and there's just a selection of wines that I really love, but wines I think are quite underrated at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're often finding ourselves going to the lesser known regions of South Australia, New South Wales, Queensland, WA, anywhere like that, that I think you get incredible value from at maybe a fraction of the price of the bigger, more popular regions. Yeah,
and 6 wines, $100 delivered. You're not going to get. We won't be able to fit a Moroccan wine into that. Pack. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But what I've liked about them is that they're still Joey selected wines. So you might get a $30 Shiraz, $25 Shiraz from somewhere, but it's going to be an oak barrel take on Shiraz. It's going to be from a region that doesn't typically make it. So that's cool. But yeah, they're on now. If you search To Your Door on our website, there should be a bunch of them coming out. But they are quite small because some of the wines we only have 6 of. So if they're sold out, give us a call.
I'll be updated.
Yell at Joey. And I'll pass you on to Joey. And I'll give you his mobile number as well. So you can harass him 24/7. That's the service that, Joey offers.
So I'm going to sit here
24/7 with Joey.
I'm going to sit here with my tinfoil hat on all night researching.
The cheese is made out of
the cheese is made out of
moon.
Where to plant Shiraz on Mars?
Yeah, yeah. And don't you know the government's holding us back because they want it all for themselves?
All those moon pictures are fake. It's actually full of vineyards.
Yeah. That's why they faked
They just covered it.
They faked it because they want anyone to get. We are definitely getting some. There's a Facebook algorithm, specifically made for this. Quick g'day to In Good Spirits. Thank you guys. I need some IBD study accompaniment. So you're doing some study about international brewing and distilling, I believe. Which sounds incredibly boring, but quite rewarding at the end. But I applaud everyone that goes through the methods to learn the science behind brewing and distilling, because I don't want to, and I just want to drink and talk about the stuff that you make eventually. So thank you, Tim, for getting on that. So Sasquatch makes Riesling out of Area 51. Don't believe you. Didn't happen. Don't know what you're talking about. Paul asked a question. Joe, what is your favourite vineyard in the Tamar Valley?
Favourite vineyard in the Tamar?
Yeah.
All of them?
All of them. Yeah.
I know wineries in the Tamar. I don't know the specific vineyards, though. That's part of the world.
Yeah, I guess that's a different question as well. Like, what labels, what wines do you like? What particular plots do you like? That's quite a different question. It might take, a little bit of research into thinking about, and actually going and finding out exactly which vineyards certain releases source their grapes from.
We do have a bit of a personal connection to the Tamar Valley on this stream, though.
Do we?
Yeah, because I believe one of our viewers is quite close with someone who works at Joseph Cromie.
Good wine.
Yeah.
Joseph
So Joseph Cromie Vineyards, that's going to be my little Tamar Valley plug there. Very good wines, though.
I used to drink a lot of Joseph Cromie back in the day. Going back a little while now, being so old, but I used to, at another great bottle store, Vine in Redfern, used to just hand me Joseph Cromie that I'd walk out with. Good question as well from the Instagram. If you're buying a 6-pack of wine, like a mixed 6-pack of wine, and I'm going to take this as a personal question, like if you come to me and just say, do a generic 6-pack of wine, would you prefer have like 6 $17 bottles and then a hero bottle, or have equal value across it?
So that's a bit of a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that it's something that, I'd say, like, I don't... So we still have to look at price point and what it costs us and what it's going to cost the customer when we put these 6-packs together as well. But I'd say ours are probably more mixed, especially in the mixed pack. It was from the beginning. I always wanted to have an orange wine in there.
Yeah.
And that's always like my go-to orange wine at the moment for value is the Swinging Bridge 003. And so that's a 2020. Yeah, no. So we won't see any of that next year. But that's a $30 bottle. But I really wanted to have that in the mixed pack, which is going to be $100 for you guys. So then in order to do that, I just went and I picked some, $16 bottles, which I still think are really good. But we're not going to be able to offer an orange wine. And then we're not going to be able to offer 6 $30 bottles.
Yeah. And
still be profitable. So I've gone for... usually 2 or 3 that I like and that maybe do break the bank a little bit. But then to sort of level it all out, I go for just standout, cracking, lower price bottles.
Yeah, I think there's an element as well. The Wine About comments on the Instagram that 25 to 35 mark is a really good sweet spot for really good quality wine. Without necessarily going for stature or provenance or anything like that. But where I think we found this is what the stream is about, a look behind the curtain type thing is, sometimes you can get deals off suppliers and wineries where a wine that would cost $30 if you buy X amount, or if you buy X amount from them, or the new vintage is coming, we need to get rid of it. That gives us an opportunity to, this is actually $10 less than it was before. We can sneak that in. Still offer
we'll put that in.
$25, $30 wine, but we can... Yeah. And so that's the way a lot of that sort of, those packs are managed is, because they sell it almost instantly, is sort of working with people to say, hey, we can put you in here and move this stuff that you need to move, but it needs to be at this sort of price. So.
Which is every bar manager's sales discussion ever.
Oh yeah.
Any rep that steps foot into a bar and they go, I want to be in the speed rack. You go, all right, well, let's talk. Let's talk volumes. Let's talk discounts. That's just happens every day.
Yeah, and and I think there's a couple of like that's quite an interesting concept of like where is a good quality wine. There was absolutely 100% some really good quality wine for $15 to $20.
Yeah,
even some $10 wine. Like I've had some great clean skins from some of the chain stores and that sort of stuff. I think the difference with what we do is it is the small production. It's not like massive produced where it's a scale game. So our that $30, 25 to 35 mark, you're gonna get a banging wine, but there's also the story. And the story costs money because if it's handmade, if it's made by a couple and they do it all themselves, or whatever the story is, that takes time. And they got to pay themselves, and all that sort of thing.
I think it's and without trying to put the larger companies in a bad light or anything. Someone might come to you and go someone that works in that volume side of the market will come to you and say this wine costs this, and I say okay, so it's going to sit at this price on the shelf, and they go yeah okay, well let's get it down to this, and then they say you need to buy this much, you get it down to this, you get it down to this. Whereas a lot of the guys that we work with, like a lot of them, they're the winemakers or the owner or from these small wineries, and you come in and they go this is my product and I think it costs this much, and then you go okay it's going to cost this, and they go yep great, we think that's a good price for our wine, sort of thing. I don't know, I like that. And there's a bit of a chatter going on the Instagram thing here about you can definitely pay more money and big disappointed and stuff, and certainly you can pay. I'm going to pick on Burgundy here because it has the name certain producers. What does $1,000 wine or a $2,000 wine taste like? How do you get that enjoyment out of that? To feed into something that Matt Willis said on the Facebook there, that daily drinkers me offer the most satisfaction with a special one for good times. Now, I haven't had as much experience with those really high-end wines as you have, but I have had a lot of experience with stupidly high-end whiskies. And I can tell you, quite honestly, hand on heart, no word of a lie, I have had some very expensive, very old whiskey. We're talking $5,000, $10,000 a bottle, with arseholes. Yeah.
And it has been, the whiskey's good, but you're just like, oh, okay, it's fine, whatever. But, in reality, that moment kind of sucks. I've had a lot of fun with Jameson and Starwood Twofold and sub $80, sub $100 bottles of wine with friends, with family, with loved ones, with ex-loved ones, with all that sort of shit, and had the best time ever.
Yeah.
So I think there's not. I think it's very important to remember that everything in terms of alcohol related, whether it's a spirit, a wine, a beer, or whatever, it's meant to be shared. That's where all these things come from. They bind, experiences. They enhance experiences. So, it's a bit of a loaded question, that sort of thing, where it is. But I've had a lot of time. Farmer's Wife Distillery. Quick g'day to you guys if you're still there. On the first hour, we went through your very lovely warm winter gin, which arrived today. The sample. If you're still there, Farmer's Wife. Is there any left? Because I know it's sold out on your website and I haven't had a chance to call you yet today because I only got to try it on this live stream. You can watch it. I'll send you the link tomorrow. But if you're still, I don't know if you're still on the stream, but I don't know if there's any left to sell me because it's on your website. But I've had a few inquiries. Joel 100%. I was thinking this arsehole's not having fun either. Yeah, they were thinking the exact same thing. But just when you're not enjoying, people, you're trying to anyway. But it's all about experiences, right? I
think so. How often? I mean, it's a couple of times a week. It might be, or it was before lockdown, where we might be walking past each other in the store, or loading boxes, or filling shelves or whatever, and it's going oh yeah, try this. Oh, what is it? Oh, it's a Premier Cru Burgundy, blah blah blah. Is it? Yeah, cool. All right, cool. Thank you. Bye. Or the vice versa with whiskey, and we're doing the little samples. It's what's this? Oh, 1986 single cask, blah blah blah. That tastes nice, cool. But that's totally not how that product should be consumed. No, it's and that's where I think a lot of if you sat alone in a room and that wasn't your thing, but if you were just sat there bored and just decided to drink $1,000 bottle of wine, probably not going to be the wine it was made to be. or
Yeah.
hyped up to be. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, this is episode 30 right now. I think it was episode 5 or 6 last year. If you go back, we actually had that conversation about fake wine.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
And that concept of if you don't know that it's not what it was meant to be, but you had the best time ever with a bunch of mates thinking you were drinking, Romani Conti or whatever it was, does it matter? And like that moral element of that, so that's quite an interesting sort of thing.
It's that Schrodinger's cat kind of approach to the whole thing.
Yeah. Quick g'day to Mike Leyland on the Facebook and to Erica on the Instagram. Thanks for joining us and listening to our rubbish on this 30th edition. And if you missed the very start, 30 episodes of this now means we're much older than Joey and almost getting to half my age in terms of episodes. So that's very good. Must be why whiskey tastes so good at the oak barrel. Thank you very much, Whiskeyography. We have a lot of fun.
Those are all fake bottles as well, though. So.
Yeah. So basically, every oak barrel tasting, no matter what it is being Jameson.
Yeah. with different bitters.
I feel like with bitters, just the hour beforehand, I empty all the bottles and take them home and flog them out the back door for cash. There you go. That's another...
Wait for somebody to just like soundbite that and expose us on the whiskey page.
Yeah, go for it. I dare you. I dare you. That I would love to be known for that, and just like the outrage that would come about that concept would be unbelievable.
And all of the private messages asking to buy those bottles.
Yeah. Matt on Facebook says the placebo effect about. That, and we actually spent about an hour talking about that. Maybe we should revisit that in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, but I mean, that is why that Rudy Kinnear one got away with it for so long. Is because yes, he was had an excellent nose and excellent palate, and was able to make wines that closely replicated the wines that he was proven to sell. But he was selling them to avid wine collectors that were drinking them with their friends. Yeah,
and there was that sort of element of chest beating as well. As I'm a 0.001% in the world wine collector and expert, and I've just been duped.
Yeah,
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want the world to know. I want to just let's write this up. Let's move forward.
I mean, and even in like you said, it's quite a long discussion. But you can open a $10,000 bottle of wine and have it be corked.
Yep,
and then
it happens.
So, some of these wineries will replace the bottle for you, but I've opened some pretty expensive wine that's been corked, and you just go, it's the game.
Yeah, it is. Doesn't Penfolds have that roving tour? Or they used to, where they would test your back vintages of Grange and recork them if the cork was looking failing. I think that was definitely a service they were offering.
That sounds familiar though. I know that Chateau Yquem will recork your bottles after a certain amount of time.
Yeah, okay, that's the sweet.
Famous Sauternes house.
Yeah. So I think that's quite interesting, and I think that's why also you're seeing a lot of wines move from cork to Stelvin to screw cap essentially.
Absolutely.
And one thing that from an hour ago, our wild guesses of new regions and new countries of wine in 100 years. One thing I can guarantee, and I'll place the house, I'll place everything I own on this at the moment. We'll be drinking them out of Stelvin and not out of cork bottles.
Yeah.
I love
the move towards Stelvin is inevitable.
Yeah, France and Italy and Spain, these old worlds holding on. They want that sound. Good on them. Yeah. Done.
I like the.
The crack.
Yeah.
You can do it. I think these are real corks, but no, that's fake corked as well. Cool. You can still get that effect. Maybe on spirits more than wine, but like the amount of excellent juice, let alone revenue and money that old that wineries that have old vintages must pump in, that distributors have to deal with. Just a headache in terms of that sort of world. So the cork is dead. I'm sorry.
And there are so many alternatives out there at the moment. There are some guys doing some really good stuff, but I think if you can put all your wines on a Stelvin and feel pretty okay that they can ship anywhere in the world and be alright and live for however long, that must save so many nights of sleep. I think
interesting question here from Harry though. What about the sustainability aspect of Stelvin and screw cap? I think I actually don't know too much about that, but there has to be a way. There has to be a way where it can be as sustainable. And like
in terms of producing sort of like
I think that's
carbon emissions.
I think so. Like in terms of production method, and particularly if not the top level, but your $10 bottles that are screw caps, and you're selling millions of them a year. That's a lot of plastic that's going through. A lot needs to be produced. So it's a very good question, but I'm sure there has to be a way. But
I wonder what the effect to the environment is on cork production.
Yeah, and here, like this is quite a good, interesting concept. I don't think too many people know about this, but down in Tassie, it was many years ago that I went on this on my first proper whiskey tour to Tassie. We're talking about 8 years ago, and was driving around with a few people up into the Highlands to the original, the salmon farms and the lark peat bog and all that sort of stuff. We were driving through this forest, which was a cork forest, which was planted 10 years ago or 15 years prior, and was a little bit of a controversy because it was this land, what do we need to do, regenerate, so we planted this cork, but whoever was in charge, and I forget if it was public or private sector, did it on the cheap for a certain tree that grows quicker. And again, don't quote me, I'm paraphrasing it, but got to maturity in 10 years rather than 15 years. Beautiful, let's plant those ones instead. But the cork turned out to be useless because it wasn't strong enough. So all it was was possible for was the cork boards.
Right.
And who's buying cork boards?
Yeah,
so it was complete write-off. So in that case, complete waste of that sort of thing. I honestly don't know how sustainable cork is, but it's a very good question and something we should actually probably look into.
Also, if you were looking at, say, a complete shift from cork to Stelvin, even in the cheaper ranges as well, we see a lot of lower-end French wines and stuff come through here. So your $9 or your $10 bottle of French wine that's under cork, compared to your $10 bottle of Aussie wine that's under Stelvin, that French wine cork's not cork; it's plastic.
Yeah.
It's just plastic that you pull out of the thing.
The one I popped before, that's not cork.
That's the bottles that are being produced by the millions.
Yeah. And that's where that fight needs to happen. Probably not what we're talking about.
I'd love to see the comparison on producing something like that to producing something like a Stelvin lead.
We're deep into just to prove we're live again. We're deep into the third quarter of the Sydney Swans versus Footscray game, and I can again report that nothing. Game's cancelled. Don't need to look away.
Is that happening here? It must be, right? Because Melbourne can't come out.
It is happening over here because we played down at Docklands last week. So we're doing 1-on-1. There's cork in Tassie. Never heard of it. Yeah, no, there is. I think they're trying to my understanding of it during that trip was they're trying to hide the fact that they may have stuck this up. I think Whiskerify sort of sums it up. If you're reducing waste bottles, from corkage, that's an element as well. That if the cork's not going to be up to the standard, then you need to replace it. Every 20 years or whatever it is. And I guess that's like the 0.1%. Probably not as relevant for the millions of churn and burn wine that it needs to be sustainable. And Matt Willer, I think on the Facebook sort of confirmed what I remember, that Grange would have this roaming tour this month. We're in Sydney, come and bring your old Grange and we can recork it. It says his uncle's best recollection of his grain collection was the bottle he had to drink as the cork failed after a Penfolds review. So they come in, they review, they can replace the cork, or they can check if the wine's still good anymore. Headed down to his local fish and chip shop and drunk it there and then with paper wrapper full of chips and snapper. And I love that. And I guarantee, so cool. I have no idea how many bottles of Grange his uncle owned.
That was the best one.
That was the one he's going to remember the most, and the one that Matt remembers as the grandkid, as the nephew, and the one that Matt kids will remember, and the one that his kids will remember. And I think sums up what we've sort of been talking about is collect memories, not bottles.
Yeah,
and that's just whatever. The game is at the SCG tonight, but we're ignoring that there's a game at the SCG tonight because there's only one team playing at the moment, and it's not Sydney.
And that's the Auckland Blues.
Can I become a Auckland Blues fan?
Yeah, we need him.
Jump and ship pretty quickly on this one. So this now it's been happening for a little over an hour. Hasn't developed too much, I don't think. It's still
that acidity has settled down quite a lot.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit more earthy, a little bit more not tannin, but just that sort of turned earth sort of thing.
I'm noticing that the tannin not so much come out, but turn into a little bit more of that chewier, grainier style of tannin that you will see in a bit of French Syrah.
And what vintage is this, by the way? For those playing up, this is Moroccan Syrah made by a Frenchman. So 17. So
14% ABV. And AOG, which I'm assuming is like the AOC equivalent in Morocco. AOG Zanata. It might be the reference to fish and chip wrappers before just then, but I am getting a little bit of the like a papery sort of note on this now. Yeah, it's definitely that
like just that ripped paper sort of thing. There you go, interactive taste.
A little bit more perfumed,
Yeah. Vanilla Strat, friend of the stream, Vanilla Strat would be great when the Scotch industry moves away from those half cork lids that shear off every second one opening. Yeah, looking at you, Highland Buck. Yeah, and that is the thing. That is the thing. And thanks for Matt Wooler for joining in. He's going to go and have some fish and chips, presumably.
With grains,
Good on you, mate. But that's the thing we've seen. You know, even in whiskey, where it's not so much that the wine breaks down or the liquid breaks down the cork, because you actually, when you're storing whiskey, unlike wine, you don't need it to dry out because there's so much alcohol in there already. You actually want to store it up. But the problem with whiskey bottles with corks is them breaking off here. It's just like the actual the fitting and the adhesive between the cork and the lid is your problem there. So. And certain distilleries are famous for it. Like, unfortunately, one of our favourite distilleries here, a fellow family-owned business, Glenfarclas, had a terrible period of corks just ripping off. And I don't know how much it cost them, but they were known, for about, it was probably only at like 6 months of production, but it's taken 10 years to clean it up wherever those bottles went around the world. Just getting bottles back that had corked and corks falling off and disintegrating or couldn't get into.
Has there ever been, like, this is just a random curious question, but has there ever been like whiskey bottle like a wine, and the fact that you would actually pull the cork?
Yeah, Michel Clervaux.
Okay,
so Michel Clervaux, which is a French, essentially an independent bottler. They buy barrels of whiskey, Scotch whiskey from Scotland, and bring it over, and then they mature them in the caves in Burgundy. So there's a real house style, because you get that dankness and that almost that like damp, mouldy sort of note from those caves, and then they release them as single malts or as blends or whatever. Never release a distillery because they get them from all over the place. But they have sort of like square bottles, red wax with cork, and people who have drunk Scotch whisky all their life can't get their head around the fact you go in with a bottle opener, you pull it out, and then they go, so what do I put it back in? I was like, you just put the cork back in. And some people really struggle with that. But yeah, so that's a distillery that has always done that, and they'll always do that. Unfortunately, Michel Clervaux died a few years ago, so but there's a new team coming through. We're actually in talks to do a virtual tasting with the new not distiller, but sort of master blender barrel warehouse manager. I don't know what his official title is, but
these are cool looking bottles.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
So in talks to that. I don't know how we're exactly going to do that, because I had no miniatures, but we will. We're working on doing Michel Clervaux, which could be quite cool. But yeah, that's a case of that. There's not too many other ones.
I can imagine it's not a practical thing in the slightest for a bottle of whiskey. But...
No, and the cork is meant to be pulled, and really, a night, 2 nights, you're done with wine, right? So it's a completely different mindset to say, okay, this bottle might be on a shelf for a year, maybe longer. So it needs to go in and out and work every time, which is where you get, the plastic corks. I mean, one I loved was Starwood in their early days had black corks.
Yeah.
So it was like plastic, it was just like proper rock star. Bang, I got a black cork. I thought it was great. A quick g'day to Annandale Cellars and vino.com.au. Quick g'day to your guys. Another excellent bottle store in Sydney, and I hope they're doing very well in these daiquiri times.
I like Annandale Cellars.
Yeah.
Really nice bottle store.
Yeah, big bourbon fan of single casket of Aval. Dan would love to be able to buy, to buy some. Look, as I said before, Joel, we're looking at that sort of thing. We almost got there through, funnily enough, like a Scotch whisky bottler based out of Europe. Had a few bourbon casks we were looking at. We had just done, it's when we just after we'd done our Lafroig and Ardmore with Whisky and Almond in Melbourne, Casa de Vinos in Melbourne, and Helvetica Bar in Perth. So we're actually a little bit, didn't quite work in the cash flow sort of things to do that. I think the bottle was, the barrel was bottled for Australia, but not through us. But we're looking at bourbon things, and I think in the past couple of years we've got a lot stronger ties with distilleries like Buffalo Trace and companies like Michter's, who now have a couple of sites that they source from, as well as Indiana through MGF Midwest Grain Producers. So there's we're building that sort of element. The biggest thing I find with America, and I'd love to import a lot of bourbons and whiskies of all shapes and sizes from America, but I don't want a palette of one thing. I want a palette of 50 different things. Getting them all into the one spot and getting them over here is quite difficult. It really requires boots on the ground. And I actually personally don't have as much interest as going to America as I do as going to Ireland and Scotland and France and Japan and those sort of places. So it's been on that second tier, and I don't know when the next chance I'm going to get to go to America, even if I want to at this point in time. So we're sort of reliant upon our relationships, and they're getting stronger all the time. Look, not this year certainly, but it's on the road. I'd be like, if the Oak Barrel doesn't have a barrel select bourbon from somewhere in 2021, I will be surprised. Not the world is over surprised, but I would expect, and this is something we set for ourselves about 3 or 4 years ago. It's sort of obviously this year is being pushed back a year. If we're sitting here next year in this sort of like halfway through the year type thing, and something's not already in the works or being talked about, I'd be like, oh, okay, that was something that probably should have happened. Something's not quite right that we haven't done that. But it's something I want to do, but just the stars need to align a little bit.
Yeah,
on that. Single barrel Moroccan wine.
Yeah,
Oak barrel sort of
massive barrel though.
Yeah, well. I mean, because is there an equivalent of that? I mean, we've done a lot of work with Australian vineyards where maybe like they've released a single barrel experimental. The 003 was originally for us as being weird things. Is it a conversation you have with wineries around the country, like oak barrel exclusives?
Not really.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that through what I do in my job, I want to showcase and support that vineyard in many other ways.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't think that necessarily, if there was a vineyard that I really wanted to work with, I don't see what putting our name on the label would do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like wine is a bit of a different beast, and I'd like to just come out here and go, I really love this vineyard and I really love what they do. That's it. I don't like. I would feel a little bit weird, I think, to go, hey guys, I want to buy this one barrel, and then bottle it, and then put our label on it, and then go, because I don't know. I think it's a different market. Pretty different conversation, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it has been done before, and was it Vinteloper that we worked with? No, it's Chalmers.
Chalmers. We did that launch.
We did a bit of a weird. We did the same two grape varietals, two Italian, I forget now, it was about 5 years ago. And one was skin contact and funky, and the other one was the exact same thing, but made in a really classic, clean way.
Yeah.
Which was it was Tweedledee and Tweedledum is what we called them. I think that was quite interesting.
Yeah, I think like that stuff we are definitely in discussions about with people that I can't name just yet, but like those one-off runs of experimental kind of this and that and the other. But I don't think it would be like the same as you talk about a single cask whiskey.
Yeah.
And going, we thought this barrel was absolutely incredible, so we bottled 300 of it, and you can drink one and then that's fine, it's done, sort of thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, what is something that you would look for an experimental barreler, taking, peeling 100 bottles off whatever run, like whatever it is, like what sort of experimentation are you looking for? And it doesn't need to be specific because there's so many ways you can go with wine, but like what sort of stuff would you look for that would make sense to you as an oak barrel exclusive?
I would probably look for varieties pushed in a way that they hadn't been before. or that I'd seen. Especially like I'd probably lean like quite strongly on my palate for it, but aromatic white varieties, I'd love to see them take it in a different direction. And if it was a direction that I hadn't seen things go on in Australia, I'd be pretty keen to jump on board and go, hey guys, this is really exciting. Yeah. Like, what do you need from me? Sort of thing. Yeah. But I don't want to approach like someone that's already got an established wine brand and wine range and go, oh yeah, can I have some of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Harry Holbrook jumps in here. Perception of wine shop exclusive wines is that they're not great and made as like something that you to sell easy to bulk, and that's a big thing. And it happens with like wine clubs, those subscription clubs a lot. Whereas you can't buy this anywhere. I was like, well, you can. It's the exact same wine. It's just been relabeled.
Yeah, and
that from a previous vintage that didn't sell, and that's not what you'd want to do here. It'd be about.
I'd want to go like either we're an established wine or like an up and coming winery or whatever it is, but just be like, wow, this is unlike anything we've ever seen before. These like it might be quite a challenging thing to sell to, maybe a slightly more conventional bottle store, but we're gonna take it and run with it. Just like that Chalmers thing. Yeah,
and we can be the outlet for the experiment that you're not too sure about.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really interesting, and different things. I mean, like beers in that case. You can run off kegs and quick tanning lines, and you can do exclusive that way. There's it's a bit more cut and dry with spirits.
Yeah.
Single cask. Do I bottle it and sell it to everyone, or does someone come along and buy the whole thing? Beautiful, done, sorted.
Yeah.
It's already going to happen. It just you need to redesign the label a little bit.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, like if our owner is still listening, he's probably going to shoot me after I say it. But the idea of like exclusive to us as from a winery is a little bit weird.
Okay.
To go like I want to be the only store that has this, like because I think we're in this space of being like a very like fiercely independent bottle store, and there's so many other bottle stores around Sydney and Australia that I adore. Like to sort of monopolize one thing that's being produced is a lot like quite strange. Not to say that there would be a huge demand for it in other stores, but just be like, you are the only one that has this. That like I don't know invokes this feeling of greed in me that I don't quite like.
Yeah, okay. That's fair play. I think so. Yeah, it would be a.
Or you could team up with 3 or 4 bottle stores or bars or something like that.
Yeah, which we've done before. We've done. We've done whiskey bottlings with bars around the country, and we may have a whiskey release coming up very soon next month that we are the New South Wales exclusive that they've just chosen independents around the country with this single cask they wanted to split up and talk. But I think it's still, from my point, I don't think it's something that we should rule out. Angus Vinton, for example, has just released all these great 2020 vintages from the Hunter that are very much Angus rather than his parents. The Vinton Old versus the Vinton New sort of range. I think that would be quite exciting. Things sort of like, hey, I had this barrel and I put some in stainless and some in barrel. I actually don't want to mix them back together because the stainless is just fine. This is funky and weird, but I can't rock up to my regular restaurants and do this. That's when the oak barrel can swoop in and be like, totally. we can do this because we can hand sell this and we can tell the story and that's. I think that's where all our exclusives have come from in the past, or even I think in Chalmers' case, and I'm going back a little bit now, it was a bit of, hey, look, we've made this, and this actually our blend of this particular wrist was XYZ, so I've actually got 100 litres of something left that I don't know what to do with. That sort of overflow from that vintage. Do you guys have any ideas? And I was like, well, actually, split them up, make this, and this, that, and we can, have a bit of fun with it.
And to actually follow up on that, and something that actually escaped my mind today, it was something an email I knew I was supposed to send. But off the back of the Narynga tasting last week, where we tasted the back vintage old half bottles of Narynga virtually, which was a lot of fun. And they came to us and they were like, we want you guys to be our outlet for the new launch in July. So that's we're gonna do that for them.
Yeah, awesome.
Sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd push that for them and be their Sydney outlet for it. It's gonna be really cool. But I don't think the term exclusive was ever used.
Yeah, but I was saying that's quite a good example of we are not a bottle store that moves volume of one particular line.
No.
Like if a winery came to us and said, hey, I've got 10,000 bottles of this. Do you want to be the exclusive outlet? You'd be like, no. And we're sitting on that for years.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
Like, why are you asking me this?
Yeah, it was like, and it has happened in the past. People are like, we've got this whiskey coming in. Do you want to be the exclusive outlet? I was like, there's 1,000 bottles of it. I was like, I'm never going to move that. But like, and sometimes we punch a bit above it, but we sell like across a range of things. So that idea, I think that was brought up just before, like an exclusive to a bottle store is like this cheapy.
It's not about like a money maker.
Yeah, it's not going to be a branding a clean skin because they need to get rid of it, because we're not that sort of bottle store. And even if we wanted to, we couldn't do it. So it'd be sitting out well, we wouldn't be able to do this because this warehouse would be full with boxes of XYZ that we can't move.
And accounts would have killed you by then.
I'd be out of a job because, like, Scott, we can't buy anything more this year. But you've got 7,000 bottles of, like, Jameson in a stout cask.
Yeah. And we have to write the bottle number on each one.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I think there's a way to do wine exclusives.
Yeah.
But it's probably a different direction to the just buying one incredibly special cask of whiskey.
Yeah, 100%. We are getting towards the time of 9:30, which means that Instagram is going to kick us off, which means that the Oak Barrel After Hours episode number 30 is probably going to wrap up soon. But as with all things Oak Barrel and Joey and Scotty related, there will be a after party. And it is going to be online, but through our respective Instagrams. So probably going to jump off Facebook and jump onto the Instagram. It's at Joe Perry Wine and at fitzsimons.scott. I jump on Joey's one if I were you rather than my one, because it's just old people like me on my one and young, exciting, vibrant people who like to, be young and vibrant and exciting on Joey's one. But I don't know when we're going to, because I don't have a counter on this, but I'm guessing it's about 3 minutes we've got here on Facebook and Instagram before we wrap up. But any final thoughts?
Moroccan wine.
Moroccan wine, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
France is dead, drink Morocco.
Speaking of cool, vibrant people, g'day to Ellis Wines and also Sam Smith at VHS Wines, of which the final chapter just landed in store here a little while ago, and that is all but gone, I think. Maybe like last bottle or two.
Do you remember what episode the Creaming Soda was on?
That was like episode 2.
It was very early. Okay.
It was really early. Yeah, I don't think anyone quite knew what was coming.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
And I was sitting next to you. You warned me beforehand. I stood there.
Yeah. Awesome.
But yeah, and then that sold up pretty quickly after that episode.
Yeah.
But that's great. Thank you everyone who jumped on the Facebook as well throughout the night. Again, just to prove that we are live, there's a football match going on. No, we're not talking about that. Don't worry about it.
Didn't the AFL get pinged for not scoring enough points at some point?
Yeah. Well, yeah. This is after party conversation, because I've got a few feelings about this. A couple of feelings, one or two, in my feelings bank that might come through. Farmer's wife obviously jumped in and out before they had a chance to reply to me, so I have no idea whether we can get that gin in. But we will endeavour to do that. But I think we might wrap it up there before we get kicked off mid-sentence. We'll be back in about 5 minutes' time on some phones at the front of the store. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you to Tim, to Joel, to Whiskyography, to the Wine About, to Vanilla Strat, to Matt Waller, to Mike, to Paul, to everyone who jumped in on the Facebook, all of you. Thank you very much for putting up with our shite and rubbish chat, not only tonight, where we've obviously wasted quite a bit of your bandwidth that could have been spent in a better way. Wine bar comes in late, always just late, always late. Too late, mate. Wine bar, it's done. We're shutting down because Ian Barr's in the room.
Yeah, we just finished a bit of that.
Yeah, but yeah, we will jump on the after party on our Facebook streams. But yeah, not only for putting up and wasting your bandwidth on us tonight, but we will be back. But for all of the 30 nights that we've been doing this before, that you've wasted all your bandwidth on, I can't refund that money. Telstra, Optus, Virgin, I can't give you your bandwidth back. Yeah. Are you done already, mate? Just why does Ian Barr have to ruin everything all the time? If you can Uber over another bottle of Moroccan wine,
if you can bring us another bottle of Elaine Greer's Sirocco 2017.
Which also, it sucked, by the way, so it was awful.
Yeah. Elaine Grover is that Italian dude who makes Barolo, right?
Yeah. And not only did it convince me that Moroccan wine is rubbish, but also that French wine and French winemakers are rubbish as well. If anyone from the Daily Mail is watching right now, there's your headline. Moroccan wine and French wine sucks. It's all over. And it's all Ian Barr's fault. That's there. Come on. dailymail.co.uk.au. Sort it out. But now, guys, in all seriousness, we're going to wrap up. We will be on at Joe Perry Wine and at fitzsimons.scott. As I said, jump on Joe Perry's one because there's nothing but old people on my one. And we will see you in about 5 minutes' time.